This is your brother Ricky, and I'm a very happy member of the Faithful Remnant, led by Petrus Romanus, also known as Pope Peter the Last, and Mary Romanus, also known as the Two Witnesses. Look, I'm just gonna dig right into it, guys. We're gonna start from chapter 14 of Matthew, chapter 14, verse 22 to 33. And straight away, Jesus concentrated his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was to come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the winds was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking unto the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking unto the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out of fear. But straightway Jesus spoke unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee in the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was to come down unto the ship, he walked onto the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind was boisterous, he was afraid and began to sink and cry, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, where is thy faith? And when they were to come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of the true thou art the Son of God. Now let's see what Jesus had to say about this verse. And you can find this Jesus' interpretation at www.testimonyofthetwowitnesses.com. And Jesus said, When I sent the disciples out to the boat alone, my children, it was to test them, to see if they would have the courage to cry out to me when the storm had arose. Who had the courage to call unto me, my children, as the boat was being tossed about, and the waves and the current had become strong, and the wind was blowing very hard? Pope Peter the Last replies, Peter. And Jesus replies, Yes, it was Peter who cried out, Lord, save us, for we are perishing. I heard his interior life, and the other disciples were afraid, and they could only cry out to the Lord. But Peter knew that if he called out to me, I would save. So then I appeared out of the water, walking towards my disciples in the boat, very calmly. But the wind was still strong, and the waves were turbulent, and I just waited. Then I said, Take courage, it is I, fear not. Peter just wanted to make sure that it was I, even though he knew in his heart it was. So he took the leap of faith and outside the boat. And when his eyes were fixated on me, he could walk on the turbulent waters and the winds and the pressures of his life. And their current circumstances had no effect upon them, as long as his eyes were transfixed upon me. But as soon as he began to focus on the wind, it is then that he began to sink. And I saw him sinking. And it wasn't until he cried out to me that I reached out to him to save him. Then we went back into the boat, and immediately there was a calm. The turbulence stopped, the waves were still, and the wind ceased. Now in the boat is an allegory for the institution that I founded from since the very beginning. When did my disciples experience turbulent waters, high winds, and rocking of the boat? Pope Peter replies, when the Jezebelians and the Freemasons pressured them to conform to the new worldly agenda in order to build a new church founded on mammon and rebellion against God. And Jesus replies, Yes, my son, this is true. And I was not with them, was I, when that great storm arose all of a sudden? Where was I instead? Pope Peter the Last replies, You were in the hearts of those who had resolved to live the 10 Commandments and to humbly repent of their sins in their interior lives. And Jesus replies, yes, my children. In fact, I was in prayer interceding on behalf of the future Pope to make good choices when the storm would arise within my church. There are multitudes of layers of theology going on here, my children, that no one on the face of the earth has unpacked until now. But I am unpacking the scriptures for you both, and for those who are seeking the truth in these times, for the bombardment of falsehoods. And so was Pope Peter I safe inside the boat when I was absent? Or did he not have any control over the circumstances within that institution at the time? Pope Peter the Last replies, with a long pause, well, he clearly had no control over the interior lives of those around him, nor control over the storm rocking the boat. He was in, but only could find any sense of control when he chose to do exactly what it was that you were instructed him to do. And Jesus replies, yes. And when did the storm cease, my son? When did everything calm down? When was there peace with my followers? Pope Peter the Last replies, only after Peter got out of the boat and you showed the institution that you were raising him out of the dark, murky waters into which he found himself sinking. And Jesus replied, and when I was with them in the boat, then they had focus on their hearts. And when I was with them in the boat, then they had focus, and then their hearts were no longer on their fears, so they could focus on me. And what I was asking of them, I calmed the storm. When the future Pope reached out to me to save them from perishing. But he had to go outside the institution, outside of the boat, in order to do anything good or to be effective in any way. He brought with him inside the boat, but the abomination that makes desolate is that my presence is removed. And what happens in my presence is removed, my son. Pope Peter the Last replies, nature hates a void, so the enemy of souls fills that void within the institution, and the priests are no longer in person, then the priests are no longer in persone santene, along with all their sacraments and blessings and ministry to the people. And Jesus replied, and they are therefore sinking deeper into their mind and into the dark, murky waters, for the institutions of the Roman Catholic hierarchical structure is a sinking oil tanker, spewing black sludge over everything it touches. Because I am with the boat, I am not with the boat any longer. I have given an example for those times in my gospel. Therefore, the people to say that I would never abandon the institution that I founded is pure folly. For it is written in my gospel, and for those who have eyes to see, it is quite clear. And for those who have ears to hear, they do understand the institutions severed itself from me. And from it, the institution has rejected the pontiff that I have chosen to represent me, to the people and to the clergy. The institution has decided to go at it alone. And so I am waiting for the people to cry out to me with these simple words, Lord, save me, for I am perishing. But the catch is they must do what I am asking of them. Just as the first Peter did, just as the last Peter is doing. I am asking people to fix their eyes on me during this time and leave their boats behind to follow in Pope Peter's footstep, to flee their institutions. And that is how the people will be nourished and will be able to stand with their eyes fixed on me during these times of desolation. So guys, it's quite clear. In order to find the truth, you gotta get out of them churches right now as soon as you can, because the spirit of the Antichrist is in those churches, and the true church on earth is led by the two witnesses at www.testimonyofthetwowitnesses.com. God bless you guys. Thank you.